welcome back to Unjustified, and we're going to be going into part 3 today of the polygraph test that Chris was given and the interview that Tammy Lee gave him just before the polygraph. And on part 2, this is where we ended, and so we're just going to pick up right there and just continue on. And if you haven't saw part 1 and 2 of this polygraph, you may want to go back and look at it before you listen to this one, because I wouldn't want you to get lost. We're actually on page 14 of the polygraph, but it's actually page 593 of the discovery. So let's just get right into it. We left off right here where he says after he talked to Shanann, he backed his work truck up to his garage door so he could load his large clear containers, O-rings, earbuds, and some combination wrenches from his personal toolbox. And Chris explained he normally takes his tools out of his work truck every Friday, backs up to his garage door, and loads his tools when he returns to work after the weekend. He says his work truck was backed up about 1/8 of the way into the garage because Shanann's car was parked inside. He says his work truck won't fit in the garage because it is too long. It took him approximately 10 minutes to load his work truck. He loaded his truck from 5:15 a.m. until approximately 5:25 a.m. He got into the truck, hit the button for the garage door to close, and drove to work. With regard to his route to work Monday morning, and that just explains how he got there and the direction he took. He knows where everything is located in his area. When he arrived at work, he went to Survey 319, Survey 1129, Survey 1029, and Survey 629. So he went to many places that day before he got home. Chris later estimated that Anadarko's oil well sites cover approximately, and Chris explained there is also a large number of cattle, sheep, and irrigation spots on the property. When he arrived at work at approximately 6:45 a.m., he went to Survey 319, the oil well site. No one was there when he arrived, but Troy McCoy, Lisa Parrish, and Chad McNeil showed up. Cody Roberts was working, but he was working at Survey 1029. McCoy, Parrish, and McNeil arrived at Survey 319 at around 7:15 to 7:30 a.m. Now see, Melissa thinks that she probably got there around 8:30. So see, as I was saying in the interview with her, that would have only given him like 2 hours to do everything he did. Well, if they got there at around 7:15 or 7:30, well, that only gave him like 45 minutes to an hour to do everything that he supposedly done by himself that morning. That literally isn't possible. I mean, there's nobody that can even contemplate within 45 minutes that he would have time to dig a shallow grave, put Shanann in it, do what he done to each of the girls individually, walk them individually up that 20-foot ladder, dispose of them the way he did individually, and also have time to sit and text and call all of these people that he did within that time frame. And then Melissa and them, when they got there, they said he wasn't dirty, he didn't act tired, he wasn't sweaty, none of the above. There's no way he could have pulled that off by himself. In my opinion, I would have to see a reenactment of it. I would literally have to see a reenactment of someone Chris's size, and in the health Chris is in, which is, I believe he was in pretty good health for that. I would love to see a reenactment of a normal person with, say, dummies that was the same size, weight, everything, and pull off what he claims he did within that 45 minutes and then look just as normal and not sweaty and not dirty and all that within 45 minutes to an hour. I personally do not think it can be done alone. Do you? That's not even mentioning the part, and I don't know if everybody's like that, but I know I am. If I'm in a hurry and I'm trying to get something done really quick, not even to mention the adrenaline pumping and all the scary and the fright somebody's going to pull up and all that, I'm not even talking about that. If I'm just trying super hard to get something done extremely fast, I become all thumbs. I end up screwing up more and taking more time than I would have if I was just doing it and not being freaked out and trying to hurry up and do it fast. Is anybody else that way? Because I know I am. That timeline's just not kicking it for me at all. I mean, it was freaky with Melissa Parrish saying 2 hours, but he's saying 7:15, 7:30. What the hell? Anyway, let's go on. He was trying to pressure test the line to see if he could find a leak. McCoy, Parrish, and McNeil weren't at Survey 319 when he arrived because most days the workers either go to the office or the field first. Well, that is the field, isn't it? He knew Roberts had a leak at Survey 319 over the weekend, so Chris wanted to check it out and make sure they didn't have a health, safety, or environmental issue on their hands. Well, who runs health and safety and environmental issues for Anadarko? I think the one that runs that part of Anadarko, he is on a regular basis communication with. So I'm pretty sure if that was the issue, then he would have already known about that. I asked Chris if his house around 5:30 a.m. and arrive at the oil well site at 6:45 a.m. And Chris says, I'll usually leave between 5:30 and 6 o'clock, somewhere around there. I just knew it'd take us a little while to get out there, and I wanted to be out like we usually like to start work at around 6:30. He did not stop anywhere along his trip to work on Monday morning. He did not see anyone he knew on the way to work. He called McCoy, Roberts, and McNeil while he was out at the oil field, but the calls would not go through. He worked at Survey 319 from 6:45 a.m. till approximately 8 a.m. So see, obviously, Melissa was off on her timeline because she didn't think she got there until about 8:30 a.m. So obviously, Chris was more right on the timeline if he left Survey at 8 a.m. And that would have only gave him 45 minutes to do everything that he supposedly done by himself at that site before they got there. And then he looks just absolutely perfect, just got there ready for the work day. I ain't buying it. I ain't buying it. Show me a reenaction, and if I can see a reenaction that someone can actually pull that off and look like they just stepped out of their truck for a day's work, then I might buy it. Until then, I ain't buying it. And then show me a reenactment of 2 people doing it. Show me that. That's possible, maybe. Even at that would be tough in my opinion, but it's more possible than one person doing it. But, I want to see the reenactment. I want to see the proof. I want to see where he could actually pull this off in 45 minutes by himself, like he claimed he did. Show me. I fully believe he was there. I fully believe he played a part in it. A big part, a huge, actually the biggest part, because it was his family. So, it's on him. His hands are dirty, very dirty, the dirtiest It's his family. So I'm not saying that, oh, Chris didn't do nothing. Hell yeah, he did something. But I don't think he did it by himself. And I probably get a bunch of damn hate for that. But the ones that wants to hate on me for it, you do the math. You look at the timeline. You think about what he said he did. And then you tell me, honestly, if you think he could pull that off by himself. Seriously. Moving right along. He worked at Service 629 until approximately 8:30 a.m. Chris explained no other workers were at Service 629 when he was there. He drove over to Service 1129 at 9 a.m. to see if it was ready to run, and it wasn't. He left Service 1129 at 10 a.m. At 10 a.m., he drove to Service 1029 and stayed there until he left to come home at 1 p.m. So, he was at Service 1029 when he looked up the lyrics to Battery. So, while he was at Service 1029, from what he says in his own prison interview, that is when Nicole texted him or called him and said, hey, look up the lyrics to Battery and tell me what it means. He was at Service 1029 when that happened. So, yeah. With regard to the policies pertaining to having civilians in his work truck, he says Bella and Cece have played in his truck for a few times. Shanann has been in his truck to see what he had in there, but she's never ridden in the truck, and they're only allowed to take other Anadarko employees and trainees in their work trucks. Okay, there again. Nicole Atkinson said that she never knew of the kids or Shanann being in that truck, period. And she also said that she knew that even if he had to go by the daycare to pick up the girls, that he would literally go home, get Shanann's car, and then go pick the girls up in her car because he didn't want to risk getting in trouble by Anadarko for having someone else in that truck. Now, it is possible that the kids got in it and played in it or whatever. That is a possibility. And it is possible that Shanann opened the door, see what he had in there, or all that's possible. So what he said here is a possibility. Can be taken with a grain of salt. At the same time, it could also be saving face, right? In case anything is found in his truck that links to the kids and Shanann. So that statement there could go either way, or could go both ways. You know what I'm saying? It's hard to call on that. It's kind of upsetting that the stuff that they said that was found in the truck, which is, I haven't seen it yet. I think it was Sandy Rusek that said that there was hairs and this and that found in his truck. But of course we know no DNA was actually analyzed in this case, which that's another thing that kind of pisses me off. And I had a video about that whole DNA scenario and situation on my other channel, and I thought it was a pretty interesting video, and many other people did as well. So I don't still have the video. I'm pretty sure I don't. I'm pretty sure I lost it, but I think I'm going to put it back together because that DNA, in my opinion, was pretty damn important. Okay, moving right along. Sorry guys, but that's what I told you about these videos. I don't just sit there and read through them like a textbook. I actually talk through them and give my thoughts and opinions too. That's just what I do. With regard to if he made any phone calls while he was at work, he damn sure did. A bunch of them. Bunch of them. He texted Roberts, McCoy, and McNeil. And see, he just conveniently leaves out Nicole. And ended up calling and talking to Apple to let him know he was out at Survey Ranch. He says he texted Shanann and also tried to call Shanann, and she didn't answer, and his call went to her voicemail. He called Atkinson after he received the front doorbell alert. Atkinson told him that Shanann hadn't answered anyone, and she could see the shoes that Shanann wore home from the airport sitting inside the front door, and Shanann's car was in the garage. He wouldn't know if Shanann had any other pairs of shoes missing because she had an entire closet of shoes. She did. She had a nice shoe closet. Like, it looked movie star approved. It was very nice. He called Epple on his way home from work to let him know they couldn't find Shanann or the kids. Epple would be Luke. Epple, that is his boss. And we've already listened. His interview is on here as well. If you haven't heard it, it's pretty interesting as well. With regard to if he called Primrose School, yeah, I don't remember what time that was, but I asked if the kids were there. I'm not even going to get started on that one. I asked Chris if he had any other conversation with Primrose that morning, and he told Primrose that they were more than likely going to put the house up for sale, and he wasn't sure if they would be staying in the area. He told Primrose he wanted the kids to stay on the waiting list. He told Primrose he wanted the kids to stay on the waiting list, and he wanted to know if they were there. Okay, let me start slamming my opinion again. I think he called to see if they were there as a kind of save face, kind of thing. And I think he wanted them to stay on the waiting list because for whatever reasons in his mind, he thought that he could just pull this off maybe, and the girls and Shanann would just be considered missing. And then he's looking like the good guy here, wanting to know if they're at the school because nobody can find her or the kids. And, well, yeah, just keep them on the waiting list for sure, because in his mind, that would make it look like he didn't know. He had no idea where they were, right? Primrose charges on Monday for the week, and Monday was going to be the girls' first day back at school. That is another thing that really bothers me. They had to pay for the entire week on Monday. So they always had to pay $500 a week for both girls to be at Primrose. That is absolutely crazy in my opinion. I mean, that's upward $2,000, $2,500 a month just for daycare. That's craziness in my opinion. I mean, it looks like you could have found a random person or surely another daycare that wouldn't charge that. But anyway, I believe that this Monday they would have only been paying for one child for the week, which would have been Cece, because Bella, this was going to be her first day back at real school, right? Big school, big girl school. She was going into kindergarten. So I'm not sure, but I don't think that they charge her to go to kindergarten. They don't here. I mean, that's a public thing, it's school. And so I think possibly that's one of the reasons that maybe Shanann may have stayed in North Carolina for those 6 weeks, is while she was there, she could still be working and she could have help with the kids without having to pay the daycare, and she could have, his family and her own family, helping with the girls and watching them while she worked. So I think that was kind of like Shanann was working on saving some money to maybe get their house payments caught back up or something, or when they go to this court they was fixing to have to go to in a few days, I think she was just trying to save that daycare money, as well as see her family, of course, but I think that was probably one of the main things to it. That would have knocked $250 a week off of the daycare expenses, and it being Bella's first day back, or first day of school. Another thing that bothers me about that is during this whole interview, the interview that he done on the front porch, even the interview he done in prison, why wasn't he talking about her first day of school? Every parent out there knows the first day of school, big school, it's a big deal. It really is. I mean, the parent gets more emotional than the child in most cases. That's a milestone, and from the way I've seen with Shanann's videos and her parenting and all that, I think she recorded almost every milestone. You know, walking, talking, words, everything. I think she probably recorded all that, so I think that was a big deal. And I'll guarantee you they had done all their back to school shopping. Everybody was excited. You know, Bella was probably really nervous because it's her first day at big school, and it's her first day of going to school without her sister there with her. So she was turning into, quote unquote, a big girl. That should have been a big deal, but he never mentions it. So obviously, he never put no damn stock into that whatsoever. And Tammy asked him about his route that he took, you know, to get back home, and it's just a little random I-76 west to County Road 52, and I took it home. And then she asked Chris about their financial situations, and then he's like, well, last year he and Shanann spent approximately $25,000, over $500 a week for their daughters to attend Primrose. Over $500 a week. That is insane, y'all. Really, does any of y'all pay that much for 2 kids' daycare? I mean, I don't have kids in daycare anymore, or I never had. My kids were never in daycare. At the same time, my nephew was, and I mean, I thought it was ridiculous that they were paying $100 a week, let alone $250. Come on, that's highway robbery. My God. Hell, that's more than college tuition now. Come on. Shanann had surgery on a compressed disc in her neck last year. He and Shanann had insurance, but the surgery was over $100,000. He pays over $500 a month for health insurance through Anadarko. Yeah, that's about right. That's actually pretty good. Shanann handled all the finances, so he did not know how much they had left to pay on her medical bills. Cece had acid reflux, and they had medical bills related to her endoscopies. And I'm pretty sure I probably said that wrong, or pronounced that word wrong, but you know what it means. They had numerous medical bills related to Cece's allergy testing, Cece's blocked tear duct, and both girls had tubes in their ears and both their adenoids removed. Yeah, they had a lot of health issues. That's really unfortunate. Both of his girls had inhalers for child asthma. Cece took Singular for her allergies, and Bella and Cece took medication for their acid reflux. That's very common in children. The medication for acid reflux, my granddaughters had to take that. And really the Singular is too, you know. And living in Colorado with the way the atmosphere is, I can see all those kind of problems being pretty common really around there. They owe approximately $8,000 to $10,000 in credit card debt. Their Lexus was paid for by Lavelle Thrive through a car allowance. He and Shanann filed for bankruptcy 2 years prior, and he does not recall how much was discharged from their bankruptcy. He knew when the kids returned to school that they would be living paycheck to paycheck. So maybe Bella was still gonna have to be paying, you know? I mean, maybe the kindergarten and girls' school she was going to attend wasn't going to be like a public school. It was going to be a private school and a branch off of Primrose or something. So, you know, yeah, that I can see that kind of money being hard as hell to swing. I mean, I remember when my nephew was in daycare, And my daughter-in-law, she was like going to put her kids in daycare at one point, and she said, but, and I'm talking about $100 per child per week. She had two, and that would have been 200 a week, but she's like, I'm pretty much going to be working just to pay daycare, and it's almost pointless. Well, I agree, damn sure, definitely, with paying $500 a week for daycare, because a lot of people, after they have taxes and all that done, they don't bring home a hell of a lot less than 500, or a hell of a lot more than 500 a week. And even if they do, even if they bring home 1,000 a week, it's still hard to pay these bills that you got. That's just, damn, I wish they could have figured out something different with that daycare. I mean, really, I think that would have helped them a lot, and I think that's what Shanann was aiming for when she went to North Carolina for 6 weeks, was to help cut back on that daycare expense, and maybe they could save up some money to catch things up when she got back home. Shanann recently took out $10,000 from his 401k to catch up their mortgage payments, and Chris believed the loan against his 401k was taken out approximately 5 months ago, which would have put that, around March? Yeah, around March. They were 3 months behind on their mortgage payments. Well, they were 3 months behind on their mortgage payment when all this stuff happened. So if she caught it up in March, which probably happened, is they probably got behind around Christmas, because everybody, a lot of people, not everybody, but a lot of people do tend to start getting behind on things around Christmas. And it's hard to catch up. It really is, between that span right there. So by March, they were 3 months behind, which was about $10,000, which is a lot for 3 months house payments, but that was just the way it was for them. So she probably caught it up to good standing in March. They had received a letter from Chase Bank pertaining to their delinquent home loan. He and Shanann were stressed about their financial situation. Well, there was a lot of mail in Shanann's Lexus, in the front seat that they found. And I don't know if Shanann had saw it or not. I'm assuming Chris probably is the one that checked the mail and just threw it over in the seat. And I just don't really believe that he just didn't know what their finances or nothing like that was. I just really find that hard to believe. Although possible, I find it hard to believe. And the reason I do is because I'm sure he checked the mail, more than just when she wasn't there. But when she wasn't there, he was getting all the mail. And I can assure you that Nicole knew exactly what they were behind on, what they were, everything. Because if you listen to her interviews, even though she says she barely knew it, if you will listen close enough, you will hear her, well, yeah, this finance, and I did ask him about his finances, and you can tell she drilled him about every aspect of their life. Not to mention all the searches that shown where she was searching them just right before all this happened, even a month, up to a year before this happened. A lot of people think that's a typo. It's not. I've even proved that in some of my other interviews where Rourke himself said no, it wasn't a typo. Some people speculate that it's because it was an Anadarko phone and whoever owned the phone before her has done a search for Shanann. Why would they have done that? Oh, the only person or reason that anybody would do a search for Shanann, we can all see why Nicole would, but who else? I guess what I'm getting at is her phone number. How long has she had that phone number? How long has she used that phone number? From the way she was talking, she had that phone number for a good long while. It was her own personal Verizon account. We saw that. But yet she says it was Anadarko's phone. Okay, if it was Anadarko's phone, and even, here's another thing, she claimed it was Anadarko's phone, correct? Okay, then why in the hell, and she even said that they paid for it, remember? She said that in like her first interview. I think it was her first interview. It might have been her second. Oh, it's their phone. They pay for it, I have to have it. I can't give it to you because it really belongs to Anadarko or something like that. I can't really remember. I will go back because she said so much shit, but I'll go back. But it was something to that effect, and it was definitely Anadarko's phone. Okay, then why in the hell is she getting the phone bill to it? It says it's top. Nicole, here's your bill. How long had she had that phone number? If people want to speculate that it was an Anadarko phone and that she just happened to get it and whoever had that phone before her is the one that done the search, then please explain to me why she's the one being billed from Verizon for that phone number if it wasn't her phone. In the discovery, it came up her phone number that done that search in 2017 for Shanann. And then in January, I believe it was, of 2018 for Chris. I'm not calling anybody a liar, and I'm not saying your speculation of what's going on here and your thought of that search from 2017 is wrong, because it may not be wrong. But explain to me, if it was Anadarko's phone and they pay for it, then why in the hell is the bill coming in her name? And why didn't they search and find out how long she's actually had that phone number? It looks to me, in my own personal opinion, it was her phone. It's always been her phone. That's why she gets a bill. You get a bill for your phone every month. And I also believe she's had this number for quite some time. Anyway, moving right along. He currently owes his mortgage payment for August of 2018, which is due tomorrow, August the 16th, 2018. So that would have meant Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday he would have had to been out. His mortgage payment was $2,700 and $500 for the girls' school. So you're talking about $3,200 he was going to be have to be out within the next few days. Or one, his house was going into foreclosure and would be auctioned off and they were losing it. It's a big clusterfuck of finance problems, for real. It is. There's no other way to look at it. And that's just 2 payments. Just 2 payments. That's not even counting the HOA fee, all of the daily living fees, electricity, phone, car insurance, house insurance. It's not even counting any of that. He currently has $2,000 in his Chase checking account and approximately $1,500 in his USAA. So they had $3,500. He was going to have to be out, or they were going to have to be out $3,200 in the next 2 to 3 days. So that would leave them $300 to pay all the other bills and buy food and groceries, and just can't do it. Almost all of their credit cards are maxed out. Shanann had only been paying the minimum payment on their credit card, and that's probably all she could pay on them, was the minimum amount. And it even almost sounds like a lot of times they may have been getting from one credit card to pay the other one. Robbing from Peter to pay Paul, flipping them cards to have to pay bills. It was a real mess. Really. And it didn't look like it was something that was going to be easily gotten out of. With regards to their life insurance, says he has a policy on Shanann and the girls through Anadarko. Bella and Cece had a $20,000 each policy, and Shanann had a $50,000 or $100,000 policy. He has his own policy, and he believes Shanann may have gotten another life insurance policy on her own. Shanann got their policies through his cousin's wife, Nicole Kennedy, so he does not know how much they were. I'm sure Shanann told him, but he probably didn't pay any attention. Shanann and Nicole had a falling out over a money thing, because they were good friends, and of course that's how they met. And I wonder, I've heard some things of what it's about, but I may look into that if anybody's interested. He believed Nicole and Shanann's old boss believed Shanann had embezzled money from the business. Shanann's old boss owned a bunch of wheel shops. He believed the accusation against Shanann occurred around 2010, which was right before Chris met her. Shanann and her old boss are still good friends, and her old boss has been contacting people around the world about her disappearance. He has not talked to Kennedy for years, and that would be his cousin's wife. With regard to what he believed happened to Shanann, Bella, and Cece, like the first day, I thought she was with somebody. He thought Shanann was decompressing at a friend's house. He now believes Shanann is not safe, is possibly in trouble, or somebody has hurt her or the kids. Next, I asked Chris if he could pass a question on the polygraph related to if he physically caused Shanann's disappearance, and Chris replied yes. I asked Chris to tell me what the question meant to him and what he believed I was asking. Chris stated, I feel like you're asking me, did I have anything to do with it myself, or did I help somebody do it? Like, why would he say that? Or did I help somebody do it? See, I mean, he's already feeling like they know or they think somebody helped him do something. And I had no part in any of that. Did I help somebody to do it? And I had no part in any of that. Help somebody do it. That part really gets me. And then I had no part of any of that. Well, see, at this point, any of what? Any of what? Right now, they're just missing. This is before he even takes the polygraph test. Period. Right now, at this point, he could get up and walk out. So, any of that, any of what? You know, if I had been Tammy and he said, I feel like y'all are asking me, did I do it myself or did I help somebody? And I had no part in any of that. I would say, wait, Chris, why do you feel like we think you done anything yourself or you helped anybody do anything, any part of what? Because that little bit right there, in my opinion, really would have been important to me if I had been asking him questions. Wouldn't it, you guys? Anyway, I then asked Chris to tell me all the ways someone could physically make someone disappear. Chris replied, I mean, like, if you're talking about, like, what I've seen, like, on the movies, or, like, how, like, people, if you read about other people, I mean, you hire somebody like a hitman? I'm just being honest. Hire a hitman. I mean, that's the first thing that come to his mind. The first thing that come to his mind was hire a hitman. Why? And I know he said like you see in the movies, but think about it. Even in the movies, that's not the number one way you see people do off with somebody or get rid of them or make them go missing. That's not the first thing you see in most movies. The first thing's not, well, I'm going to go hire a hitman and then we're going to do murder. No. It's not. If somebody asked me that same question, and here I am, a big true crime person, huge true crime person, right? And you all are too, or you wouldn't be sitting here listening to this. If somebody asked you that same question, I don't think your answer probably wouldn't be, your first answer, the first thing that come to your mind wouldn't be hire a hitman. And then right behind it say, I'm just being honest. I mean, you know, I think Tammy was even taken back by that being the first answer. Because she went on to say, wait a minute, let's come up with something else, a different, she was kind of trying to get him to give her a different answer, because even I don't think she thought that answer was worth a damn. But maybe it is. I mean, when that's the first thing that pops into your mind, the very first thing. Right before he said that, he's like, you mean help somebody? Put 2 and 2 together. Right? Hire a hitman, help somebody. I didn't have no part of any of that. Put that together. That is his last 3 sentences in this damn interview. I mean, 1, the attorney wouldn't have let him take the damn polygraph. 2, the attorney would have probably hit the damn floor if he answered it this way. And you know that. Especially coming right behind it saying, I'm just being honest. And I'm sorry this is going to be, or has been, such a long interview of me reading it out, because I'm not just going straight through it, reading it word for word, and I'm throwing in my thoughts on it. It's been a long time since I actually read this interview myself, and now reading it over with you guys, I'm seeing a lot of what the hell moments in it, and I bet y'all are too. Oh, those last 3 sentences, 2 or 3 sentences he said, just goes together so much like a puzzle. Anyway, let's get on into this. I asked Chris to think about all of the possible scenarios in his head, and he said he could hire someone. Damn, y'all. So, really? I mean, she asked him again. She's obviously wanting a different answer from him. And he's still on the scenario of hiring somebody. His first answer is still on a hitman. And it still brings me to his answer before this of helping somebody do it, and I didn't have no part of that. It's just, damn, okay? Wow. Oh, you just wait till my next video, y'all. It's a good thing I'm rereading this, because this just, oh my God. Okay, going right along. Or a person would use someone they knew to do it. I asked Chris to think about all of the possible scenarios in his head. And he said he could hire somebody, or a person would use someone that they knew to do it. At that point, Chris giggled and told me that was a hard question to answer, because he had nothing to do with the disappearance. Chris said he didn't like to think about it. Okay, y'all. Alright. All this right here is really too damn telling, in my opinion. Too telling. And I've went back up, as you see here. And this part gets to me, because it goes in perfect unison with everything he said down here before he was even asked that question. I hope y'all see what I mean by that. You don't see that in movies. That's not the first thing you see in movies. That should not be the first damn thing to come to your mind when that's asked, especially after you just had that kind of answer. Did I help somebody do it? I had no part of any of that. No part of any of what? And then put it down here with the hitman and hire somebody, or somebody they know will do it. And then he giggles about it. And then he says he don't like to think about it. Oh my goodness. Damn, Tammy, how the hell could you not pick up on that? I explained to Chris that a person could physically cause another person's disappearance by murdering them. And Chris agreed with my statement. I asked Chris to list all of the physical ways a person could cause someone's disappearance through murder. Chris stated, I think Chris picked up what she was doing right here. I think Chris finally realized that that's not the answers she was looking for. She wasn't looking for the answers that he was giving her. The first thing that come to his head, the first thoughts, she was drilling him for something different. I think he figured it out, because here he says, well, you could stab someone or shoot someone, hit them with a blunt object. What else is there? And now he's slapping out random stuff that any other person, such as myself or you or most anybody else, would answered the first time with. I mean, use a weapon like a gun or a knife? Chris appeared to be thinking, so I said, you could smother someone? Why in the hell is she giving him answers? Like, he's done told her his first thoughts up here. Put everything that he said right there together before you give him your answer. And of course, Chris is going to agree, because that's what he does. Chris repeated what I said, and I immediately said, you could strangle someone. Why give him ideas? He just answered you in his own words. Why get him to agree with your words? I don't get it. Chris said, you could hang someone. Yeah, you can. All that kind of things. I mean, it's hard to even think about that kind of stuff right now. I continued with telling Chris a person could drown, shock, or burn someone to death. You know, so she threw all three of those scenarios right in the same sentence. But this one, she just kind of left out there floating together by itself. You know, just floating out there. She gave him too many answers that day, in my opinion. I think she done a good job. I mean, I'm not saying she didn't, but she gave him too many answers when she wasn't listening to what he was actually saying. That's my opinion. It just gets to me that he was saying some very important shit right here, and it's like she was kind of just disregarding what in the hell he was saying, his first thoughts, what he had said up here, all that, and she was just wanting him to say what she was wanting him to say, right? Is that how you pick it up too? Because it's damn sure here. I don't know. I continue with telling Chris a person could drown, shock, or burn someone to death. I asked Chris if he could think of any other ways to murder someone, and he said, lure them into a trap, I guess. See, now that's something coming from his brain. So put that with everything up here he said. Now put all that together, y'all. Really, I want y'all to think on this. Seriously. This is his mind. Those other ones up there is his mind. Disregard every damn thing Tammy's told him to think about. But let's focus on his own mind thoughts. I asked Chris to explain, and he said you could have someone waiting around the corner and an accident could happen, such as getting hit by a car. Yeah, so his mind is on an accident with someone else waiting around the damn corner. Somebody else waiting around the corner. You could lure them into that, and somebody's sitting there waiting on them to do something to them, like getting hit by a car. I told Chris that a person could kidnap another person, and he agreed and said someone could take a person somewhere and torture them and leave them without food and water. And hey, right, in my opinion right now, he's just falling into her just say whatever stuff. But when it's just too much when you look at his own mind's eye thought of things that she hasn't given him an idea to say, and put them all together. Just write everything he said down and not even pay any attention to what she said. And it's very chilling and eerie, honestly. Chris then stated that a person could poison another person or beat them to death as a way to make them disappear. Poison another person. I asked Chris, that bothers me too, because he was giving her that oxy and all that shit. I asked Chris if he would have an issue with that question on the test, and he said he could definitely pass that question. Why didn't she give him that question then? I explained to Chris that I wanted him to make sure that I only wanted to know if he physically caused Shanann's disappearance. Why physically? That would mean that he done everything with his own hands, right? What if he didn't? Hypothetically, physically. But why just Shanann too? Why just Shanann? Why not the girls? Right? They're missing too. Why not them? Why weren't they asked about? I told Chris that sometimes people can feel guilty for causing someone to leave, such as telling a spouse you wanted to be separated. Chris said, "That's why I feel like a jackass right now." I reiterated to Chris that the test would only ask if he physically caused her disappearance by murder, kidnapping, etc., not just caused her to leave because she was upset over the conversation. And I still think that the polygraph was horseshit. There should have been better questions asked. All the questions asked basically was the same damn question, just worded differently. I explained to Chris that I was only going to ask him about Shanann on the test. Why? Why? Why would you do that? Why not ask about the kids too? Seriously, they were gone as well as Shanann. I don't get that. I really don't get that. There should have been 3 questions asked. Do you know where Shanann is? Do you know what happened to Shanann and the girls? Do you know if anybody else knows what happened to Shanann and the kids? I mean, it's not like it really would have mattered, because I feel like he would have lied on it and failed it anyway. I think he would have. Either way, really, no matter what she asked, I think he would have lied about it. And he would have failed it anyway, so it really wouldn't have made much of a difference on the outcome of the test. That's not my point. My point is, why didn't they ask? Why did they tell him before the test that they're only going to ask him about her anyway, so don't worry about nothing else? I told Chris that it wasn't hard to assume that Shanann and the girls were most likely somewhere together. That is true. But it still doesn't change the fact that they should have been asked about, because who knows how he would have reacted on that question. I'm sure he would have just answered it as calmly and lied and just just as well as he always did. But who knows? That lie detector test may have went off the hook showing lies. You know, who knows? I still think they should have been asked. And there's so much about this interview during this part that's really got on my damn nerves. Big time. Big time. Especially not really looking into the things that Chris just blurted out on his own without being coerced or led to say certain answers. The first things that pops into his mind should have been looked at just a little bit harder. Chris asked, "That's going to loot the kids with it though, right?" And I explained to Chris the polygraph test I was going to administer was only going to ask him questions about Shanann. Next, I told Chris I was going to ask him on the polygraph test if he was lying about the last time he saw Shanann. So see, Chris already knew the damn questions he was going to get asked before he was asked them. What? I've never took a polygraph test. If any of you has ever taken a polygraph test, I do know somebody that has personally taken one, and I am going to ask them. The FBI gave them one, and they found, that there was no lies on there, so, But at the same time, I'm going to ask them if before they took this test, did the FBI tell them the questions they were going to be asked before they were hooked up to the machine? Because I'm very curious about that. And if any of you've ever had a polygraph test, is that protocol? Is that what they're supposed to do? Because I really don't know. But I'm going to find out tomorrow, and I will let you know if none of y'all do know. And Chris replied, no. I asked Chris to describe the last time he saw Shanann, and he said the last time he saw her, she was in bed after he talked to her. Chris and Shanann was laying in bed and had just told him she was going to take the girls to a friend's house and she would be back later. Chris said Shanann was laying on her right side. Well, this whole took the girls to a friend's house and all that shit, I think that was just some of her shit. Chris said Shanann was laying on her right side and she had mascara running down her face. Chris explained Shanann didn't take her makeup off before she went to bed that morning. Yeah, she was tired. I don't think she took her makeup off, and I also don't think she told him to wake her up in 2 hours either, just so she could take a shower. Chris said the last time he saw his children was on the baby monitor as it was cycling back and forth. I wonder if that's true. I wish he would ask. I wish the damn lie detector said, when is the last time you saw children, Chris? Or is it true the last time you saw your children was on the baby monitor? I would love to know if he answered that correctly in the test, but that wasn't asked, so. I told Chris I had to talk about the worst case scenario and told him if he murdered Shanann, the image he described would not have been the last time he saw her. And Chris said, I know, I agree with that. And I told Chris if he murdered Shanann in the house, she was obviously removed at some point. So her lying in the bed would not have been the last time he saw her. And Chris said he agreed. Lastly, I told Chris I wanted to ask him on the polygraph if he knows where Shanann is now. There again, she's telling him what she's going to ask him on the polygraph, and I have got to find out if this is protocol. If it is, what in the hell is the sense of even taking one if you already know the questions you're going to be asked? Chris replied by saying, I do not know. I told Chris he was cooperating with the missing persons investigation, and the question centered around him actually knowing the location of Shanann, but not telling the police. I told Chris that Shanann could have called him and told him her whereabouts, or if he actually murdered her, he would know the location where he or someone else dumped Shanann's body. if he actually murdered her, he would know the location where he or someone else dumped Shanann's body. I told Chris that if the last time he saw Shanann she was in bed crying, he would be able to pass the question because we all knew Shanann was no longer in bed. I asked Chris what his answers would be to all three of the posed questions, and he responded, "I had nothing to do with what's going on right now. I did not physically harm her. I did. Last time I saw her was in bed, laying on her side with some mascara on her face after we had a conversation, and I do not know where she is right now." That's rehearsed, I believe. I asked Chris who he believed would have hurt Shanann and the girls, and he said he exhausted every option. Have hurt Shanann and the girls. He exhausted every option. At this time, they're still missing. So why would it already be assumed that they were hurt? Chris said he thought it was possibly a stranger who had Shanann and the kids, and they're not safe right now, and that they've been physically hurt. I asked Chris to tell me what he thought should happen to the person if indeed his wife and children were murdered, and Chris said the worst possible thing. I asked Chris to explain, and he said, "It's either going to be like life in prison or the death penalty, isn't it? That's the only two things you really can do." I asked Chris if he had any more information he hadn't shared with the detectives, and he said no. Chris said he exhausted every option of reaching out to friends and family members who may have seen or heard from Shanann. During the entirety of the pre-test interview, Chris denied any involvement in his wife and daughter's disappearance, as well as any infidelity. Well, they already knew at this point he was having an affair, so they already knew he was damn lying. So, I just don't get why they're already telling him what they're going to ask him on the test before he damn takes it. He could have got up and walked out at that point and not take this test. You know, if in his mind, I mean, I'll give it the benefit of the doubt that he thought maybe he could sit there and fake the test out, you know. I'll give him that. Even though he knew the questions that were about to be asked of him. And he could have been thinking, what if I can't fake it out, you know? What, you know, I do know the answers to all this shit. I know exactly what they're fixing to ask me. He could have got up and walked out. So I don't understand why they told him what they were going to ask him. And in this pre-interview she had with him, and his first thought scenarios of these questions she was asking him was very telling, in my opinion. Polygraph questions. A polygraph examination was administered using a recognized directed lie comparison technique, the Utah 3-question test. The examination utilized a Lafayette computerized instrument with the number and model number, which continuously monitors and records respiration, electrodermal activity, and cardiovascular functioning. In addition, a motion sensor pad designed to record peripheral behavior activity and cooperation during the examination was utilized. The instrument passed internal self-calibration prior to the exam. I conducted a known acquaintance test to assess Chris's suitability for testing and to establish baseline physiology. Chris was able to follow instructions and showed suitable responses. The following relevant questions were asked and reviewed in detail and asked of Chris over 3 chart repetitions. Did you physically cause Shanann's disappearance? Answer, no. Are you lying about the last time you saw Shanann? Answer, no. Do you know where Shanann is now? Answer, no. All 3 questions are pretty much the same damn question. I assessed Chris's psychological responses to the above relevant questions. In my professional opinion, Chris was not being truthful during the testing. Global analysis of the physiological data revealed it was sufficient interpretable quality to complete a standardized numerical analysis of the test results. Analysis of the polygraph test using scoring system resulted in statistically scores that support a conclusion of deception indicated when Chris was answering the above listed questions. Okay, y'all, I'm going to stop this part 3 right here because it's kind of turned into a pretty long video because I put a lot of my thoughts in it, because there's really a lot in this, in my opinion, and it's pretty damn telling, and I'm talking about from start to finish what we did on this part 3. You may even want to go back and look at it again, because there's a lot of stuff in this, and that's why it's drug out so long. But you know, I told you from the beginning, if you already know it, you know, you might want to go. But if you don't want to hear all my thoughts and opinions, then, you know, this probably isn't the channel for you to listen to these interview read-throughs. You know, there's other channels out there that do them, and they just read them word for word, and that's just what they do. Me, I go into them pretty deep, so that's why sometimes the videos turn out to be pretty damn long. But I feel like it needs to be done. I think it should have been done during the investigation, and yeah, that's just me. But listen, this next part's going to be really interesting too, this post-test interview. As always, I'll be going through it, I'll be reading it, I'll be throwing out my opinion on it, and I'm going to get on this tomorrow. So I need to go ahead and wrap this polygraph interview up, and I'll have this post-test interview out hopefully tomorrow. When I get up in the morning, I'm gonna just start reading it and throwing my thoughts and everything out there too. It's been a long time since I've read it myself, so I really can't even remember it myself, but I'll guarantee you, now that I'm so involved in the case and know what I know about the case, there's gonna be a lot of stuff in here that I'm gonna be talking about. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you learned something you didn't already know. Do you think it, you know, anything I said on my own thoughts and opinions made sense? Could you understand where I was going with all of it? And what is your own thoughts and opinions? Let me know. You guys have a great one, and until next time, this is UnJustified.